Good afternoon, everyone. I am Chris Berryman, your not host for today because I am not the host, but the host today is, of course, none other than Carla Fedigan because it's Humanity Happy Hour. So, welcome to the event, everyone. If you're watching this on the replay, please be sure to use the hashtag replay. Or if you're watching this live, please let us know where you're from, whether it be on YouTube or also on LinkedIn Live. And we'll put in the link here for the live stream green room so you guys can join in. And this is one of 3 open forums under the Bringing Humanity Together umbrella where people can discuss topics related to the workplace and the humanity in the workplace in a very constructive and positive way. We want to know the issues that are facing, the issues that are being faced out there from people from around the world, because it is our goal to work with both employees and employers to bring humanity back into the workforce. And as always, we'll be going live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, all at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Feel free to invite your friends, family, co-workers, colleagues, or anyone who's really truly interested in humanity. We would love to hear from you and bring them along for the conversation. And again, as you know, Sharon Karen and Sandy Chernoff is always on Tuesday, and Sandy's here today. And then every Wednesday, I host Conversations for Humanity. And then Thursday, Humanity Happy Hour, of course, is hosted by none other than Carla Fedigan here today. And just to let you guys know, we have availability only for right now on the live stream. It's up to 6 people. And if you'd like to join, like I said, the link will be actually posted up in the live stream and also in the post here on LinkedIn Live. So if you'd like to be a part of it, just let us know. And like I said, put any questions or comments and get involved in the conversation with us today. And Miss Carla, it is your show today, and take it away.
Okay. Thanks, Chris. I was thinking we'd have a little fun because I was reading a couple of articles on LinkedIn about what Gen Z and millennials are looking for in the workplace. And what are they looking for in leadership? And then I ran across a study that did all this calculations and studies and hypotheses and assumptions and things like that about what Gen Z want and what millennials are looking for in the workplace. And then when I read the article about this, what they were looking for, it hit me that we don't want to be putting people in boxes. We've already talked about that before, that we don't want to be putting people in boxes. But also when the article was talking about how the Gen Z, which is and the young millennials, that they want employees that care about their well-being, their physical health, their mental health, their financial health, their social health, all that kind of stuff. They want ethical leaders. They want open and transparent leaders. And they also want support and diversity and inclusiveness. And I thought, well, we have to do a study for that because we all want that. So I thought
it sounds wonderful.
Four things to kind of start off with, and I thought it would be fun to kind of do a roundtable on, imagine that we're putting together a leadership team. Mm-hmm. You had the ability to develop a leadership team of your own. What kind of leader would you be looking for? What characteristics would you want in a leader? And I think that they're 4 great things to start off with. An organization that cares about your health, your physical and your mental health. There are a lot of people that are young, starting off in a job, that have a lot of financial stress. With COVID, a lot of them have a lot of social isolation. They maybe had enjoyed going to work and interacting with their coworkers, and now they're doing everything by Zoom, and they're at home all day, and they're mentally suffering from that. We all want ethical leaders. We want our leadership to be ethical. We don't want them to be preaching one thing and then playing games on the other hand. We want that open transparency as much as possible. I'm not saying that the leader has to kind of spill all the beans that are going on in the corporate meeting, but, they need to to understand why decisions are made, like we talked about yesterday, and how it's going to benefit the work environment and the employee. And of course, everybody wants diversity, and they want inclusiveness, and they want equality across the board. They want fairness in the workplace. So what other things would you guys add?
I think they need to have good communication skills, starting with active listening. Because if they don't listen carefully, they can't get to know their people. And if they can't get to know their people, they won't know how to lead them appropriately. So communication skills are very important. In addition, if they're going to be instituting some changes from time to time, they need to be able to clearly and with influence be able to articulate what that's going to look like and how it's going to be beneficial to everyone and so on and so forth. And if they can't do that, then there will be more problems. So it is really important that they be able to communicate the information to the team. And, so everybody is on the same page and understands what's going on.
Well, they also have to be a good listener.
Absolutely. If they can't listen, they can't learn. So
Right.
It's very important to listen to your people.
That's why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Exactly. We should be listening twice as much as we speak. And you can't speak and listen at the same time. So it is very important. That is probably one of the most important communication skills. And
Yeah, I think the communication, people think about talking, but I think it starts with listening, and then it goes on to making sure that you're articulating your message and what you want, as in what you expect from people, what you want them to do, what the timeline is, what the project is, that kind of thing. That's more important than, that's important as well, but you've got to be a good listener first, I think.
Yeah, that's the first thing they have to do. But, you have to be able to speak with impact and influence in terms of being clear. And if you can do that, then you will have less misinformation, disappointment, and resentment, all of which cause stress. And of course, right now with this pandemic, the last thing we need is more stress. So
yeah, or more of it.
Yeah, we don't want to create situations that are going to cause more stress for people. So we want to get them on board. We want them to understand what's going on. We don't want confusion and misinterpretation and misinformation and all those kinds of things. We want the messages to be clear. And if you're not paying attention, and as Brian said yesterday, the messaging isn't just oral. We got to be paying attention to the nonverbal messaging that's coming at us, because, we have to pay attention to how what we say and do is being perceived by those around us. And they don't always give us verbal feedback. So we got to look at them. How are they looking? Are they looking confused? Are they looking upset? Are they looking uncomfortable?
Are they looking at their iPhone while they're listening?
Looking at you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Tyson, I'm glad you could join us again today.
Yeah,
We were just talking about the younger generation and things that they would like to have in a leader, being having someone care about their health and wellness, being ethical, being open and transparent, and being supportive with diversity and culture, equality, and inclusiveness.
Well,
And
then I came in at the right time then.
You did. You were perfect to address that. And then what we decided we were going to do is just kind of do a little round table and say, okay, we're putting together a team. What kind of qualities would you like in an individual?
Well, it varies from person to person my age, because a lot of people my age, they're afraid to confront people, but they're not afraid to storm the Capitol.
And how old are you?
I'm almost 21.
Okay.
It's true. That's true.
I mean, seriously, kids, like people are my age on TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook.
Twitter.
They are afraid to call someone out, but they are not afraid to slap a cop or storm the Capitol.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. it's like
Unfortunately, it's true.
it's
Like
weird,
they
but
won't
it's funny.
constructively talk to somebody, but they'll take the dare and do something really off the wall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of like Florida Man.
Yeah. Well, I was reading another article where they were saying, and we can talk about this, that there's an idea that the younger people wouldn't necessarily stay in a job, and the really younger people, that maybe it's their first job, might look at that job as a starter job, and they wouldn't necessarily look for leadership. Whereas some of the older younger people, I say, are looking for leadership. They're actually wanting to stay with the same company. They're wanting to grow and make an impact in that organization. And then the older people are like, I've had enough of this. I'm just here. I'm here to do my job with a smile on my face.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my first job out of high school was cleaning showers and cleaning a bathroom. That was my first job out of high school. And then after that, I went in the warehouse, which...
Now that speaks volumes that you can turn around and buy a house on that. Just clean. I mean, because a lot of people think, you got to have this, you got to be at this level to be able to buy a house. There's so many young people that are making their ends meet and going out and buying a house.
Well, see, here's the thing. I'm self-employed, and I bought this. So, and actually, I do have. I had a part of an interview this morning. I have another interview at 2, and then I'm still waiting on callbacks for like 2 other jobs that I applied for.
Good for you.
So,
that's good.
And
I'm sure you knocked out the interviews.
Well, I hope, considering it's tech and I love tech. No, but
what kind of crazy questions did they ask you on the interview?
Oh, are you able to perform good customer service? You have a vehicle that drives. I'm like, yeah. I'm able. If I could do 1,600 deliveries from August until now with an old beat up 99 Corolla, yeah, I can.
Yeah, you're dependable.
I can do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. You do.
And I'm not kidding. My car is so beat up, but it still runs.
That's all that matters.
Well, I mean, people are surprised because when I got it in August, it had 142,000 miles on it. As of right now, it has 168,000. So in the past eight or so months, I've put almost 25,000 miles just doing DoorDash.
Wow.
So, and it also has the fact of me keeping a 4.95 customer rating. I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
4.9
out of 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Toyotas go forever, Tyson,
Oh, I know, and I already have plans for when this car fully dies. I'm gonna be turning it into like a gaming setup, to where it would the steering wheel and the gas pedal would be connected to the computer, and I could play racing games on it. So I'm not letting that car go whatsoever. If something breaks, I'm replacing it. If it dies, I'm keeping it. I'll just saw it in half and go from there.
I had a Toyota for many, many years, and what I finally sold it to my mechanic, Tyson. And you know what he uses it for? Loaners. When somebody comes in and they're keeping their car for a day, he gives it to them. And one day my husband came home with my old car, and my neighbor looked at him and she went, "Isn't that Sandy's old car?"
That's great.
They go forever.
So what do you like to have in a leader, Tyson?
Someone who is not afraid to say what needs to be said to the higher ups.
You have an example?
Do
you have an example?
Well, let's say there's the team lead and then the managers. If there's a miscommunication and something is not being communicated correctly, the team leads going up to the managers and let them know, like, hey, this is not okay. This needs to be fixed. If there's like a problem on the floor of a warehouse, say where someone got injured and they didn't have the necessary protocols for it, they need to go and create those protocols. Well, they need to have the initiative to go and create those protocols, because if not, it's just going to happen again, and everyone's not going to be happy about it.
Yeah.
Like, for example, when my fiance was working with me in Chewy's, she injured herself, and there was a miscommunication between the head of safety and HR, because the head of safety said that she would be covered by workman's comp. And a couple days later, we get a call back from HR saying, "Oh, you're not covered." I'm like, "Are you kidding me right now?" And it's that dyslexia with my mouth. It's that miscommunication that really angers some people, and that's where it gets the workman's comp lawyers involved, and company gets sued, and that's just a whole trip no one wants to go down.
Mm. That's
But
tough.
it's a real pain in the rear, because I almost had to go down that until I'm like, you know what, we're just gonna leave. I'm done with warehouse. Bye bye.
Yeah. Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What about you, Melinda? What would you
Well,
like
I
to
would
see?
see some of the qualities are like what Sandy said, the communication skills must be up to par, exceptional. Really, you can understand them thoroughly. It's not, I mean, whether they have an accent or not, it doesn't matter, but you understand them literally. You know, they just speak layman's terms and they explain to you, you should be able to understand them. They should be able to in turn listen to you if you need to explain something that you don't get from them. They should have some type of professionalism about them, etiquette, persona, you know. And also, you should be flexible. So you can help the people, you know, you're not like fixated or anything, and not complex, and thorough. You know, you need someone who's gonna give it their all, do it the right way, not do shortcuts, and then by the time it gets to you, you're like, what do I do? I don't know what to do. You know, so they expect you to do it. This is Brand, a person that's really clear and thorough, understanding, compassionate, and they got the scope of the job. They know how to speak well, you know, pass the duties on from one person to the next, and it should be able to go down from there and there to the next in, you know, in a good way. And, but the communication skills must be, you know, on top. That's paramount here, because everyone at this place, whether it's an organization, non-profit, whatever, you might have 500, you might have 1,000, but you have a schedule. People come in and they clock out. We should be able to communicate with each other efficiently and effectively at a job. That's important. Or else, then what are we doing? Really, we're leaving our house, rushing in the wintertime to go, you know, to the job, and then you can't conversate and exchange. Well, you know what? Yesterday, when you expressed that during the meeting, I didn't get it, and you know, it's those type of things. And having that type of person that's going to say, okay, let me spend a few moments on that, and then see the people in the back, they don't get this part. Let me review that, and then we'll move forward. So a certain kind of kindness. Good fearing person that has passion to help and listen and be patient and compassionate to the people, because everybody has a different way of learning. We all do not learn the same. So some of those qualities are paramount, because that's what we need in the workforce for us to be able to connect and produce effective and efficient job skills.
Well, I like the idea of a leader, like you said, that helps out, because things come up, your kids are sick and you have to leave work.
Sometimes
and they say, hey, go ahead and take care of your family. They have that compassion to say, hey, I'm going to take whatever you got for the rest of the day. We're good, and that I think that's very important. When you were talking about communication, it reminds me of conversations we had about change and how people are not really keen on change. Well, in healthcare, ways of doing things are always changing because best practices are always changing. And even just something so simple as a lab might have a different way that you connect with their network and you import information and it changes another part of the policy or something like that for lab results, that kind of thing. I remember the people that I used to work with, this was probably 5, 6 years ago, they were always complaining. I mean, we had like 4 offices. So, our manager had to make sure that the communication went across all the offices. So all the nurses had the same information. And, one day you might have this, you might skip a day or so. And then on Thursday, there's something else, But the nurses were just like, oh my God, there's always something to change. And I said,
nothing stays the same.
You wanted to wait till Friday and give them all to you on Friday, and then you're going to look at them and go, nope, I'm not going to look at them? Or would you like to just change things a little at a time, as they come up?
Gradually.
And they're like, oh, well, we just don't like change, period. And I said, then you're in the wrong job.
That's so true.
Because healthcare is always changing. And you might be in a warehouse situation, an assembly line, restaurant, whatever. Things are always changing to make things easier, or something happens along the process to where it just changes it. And you just got to learn to roll with the flow.
Yes, you do.
And if for the example of a warehouse, when I was at Chewy, they changed the protocols to do just the simplest task at least, I would want to say, 15 to 20 times in the 7 months that I was there.
Yeah.
So I will admit it did get a little bit frustrating, but I understood why they were changing it to get
and
everything.
if somebody explains to you why that change is occurring, then you're more apt to understand it and agree with it and go along with it.
Exactly. And I would talk to some people who were there for probably 5, 6, 7 years. And they're like, oh, they keep changing the protocols. I wish it would just go back to the way it was. I'm like, I literally had to sit there and talk to this dude who was maybe about 20, 30 years older than me. I'm like, dude, okay, the reason for change is to make everything go by smoothly and make everything go faster.
Makes your life easier.
Exactly, because with Chewy, they always say 2-day shipping at the most, if not 1-day shipping. So that's why everything was changing. Because if there was a portion of the warehouse that got backed up, they would have it fixed the next day or the next week. And for me, being in that warehouse, I was short of being a manager. I knew everything in that warehouse, and I was only there for about 6, 7 months.
It's nice that you were so versatile.
Well, I'm a jack of all trades. Point me in the direction, get me the training for it, I'll get it done. I was an equipment driver. I knew how to load up the trucks. I knew how to run all the lines, knew how to pick everything, all that. And I'm kind of sad I had to leave, but they would not meet my demand for my portion of what needed to be changed. So I'm like, you know what? All right, I'm done.
Things are going to change in the workforce, and you have 2 choices. You either go along or you go somewhere else,
Well, I mean, this was end of last year when COVID was still happening. Well, it's still happening, but was when it was a bigger deal than it is now. And I was living with my mom at the time, and everyone at the house had to get COVID test. So I was waiting for the results from that, and they kept calling me every day. You got the results? You got the results? I'm like, no. Because they wouldn't let me back without actual printed results.
Yeah,
Even
I know.
though they called me and said I was negative, I called my work, told them I was negative. Oh, that's not good enough. We need paper copy.
Yeah, my husband had to do the same thing.
Yeah. And it was at that point where it was like 3 weeks afterwards, after I had to get tested. And I'm like, they kept calling me like every single day or every other day. And I'm like, on the last time they called me, I'm like, you know what? I'm not dealing with this anymore. I already told you yesterday and the day before. No, I have not got the paper fax in. So if you're not going to stop doing this, we're done. And they're like, okay. And they're like, they took that and finalized it. I'm like, all right. HR was stupid anyway, so.
Yeah. Well, I think it's very important that whatever you're doing, you're versatile and you're also willing to help other people. And that, even without a title, makes you a leader.
Yes.
When you're really ready to, willing to go above and beyond and not just do your own job. What about you, Chris? When he was talking about learning how to do everything, it reminded me of my McDonald's days. And I'm sure you were thinking the same thing. Honey, I can do that lobby and fries and cashier and shakes and buns and breakfast and burgers, and I could do it all.
I completely remember those days vividly because I remember that you can cook a hamburger in 33 seconds. You can cook a quarter pounder in 108 seconds. I still remember this to this day. But if we're building a great leadership team, in which we actually are right here, right now, that is bringing humanity together. This is the way I've always approached life, and especially in business today. I want someone who is open-minded, understanding, thoughtful, to a point, have those coaching conversations with people each and every single day, so we can be the leaders that we can turn into being and becoming, and maybe even again being that guide on that hero's journey with that other leader to get them to where they need to go, and also get me where I need to go. And that's why I've embraced the mission statement, which is the mission statement of our great company, which is, if I help you, you help me, then we help we.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like to have people, like I said, thoughtful. They don't need to know everything. I understand that.
Nobody knows everything.
And nobody knows everything. You're absolutely right. But we need people who can be able to stand up and say, you know what? I may not know that, but Dr. Brian does. Let's reach out to Dr. Brian.
Mm-hmm.
And, by doing that, you're doing the right thing, not doing the easy thing. And that's what we need to have people, whether to be in leadership, to be in management, or just like Tyson does. He knew everything about that warehouse because he knew how to get it done. And that's, to me, that speaks volumes to somebody, because you can be able to do what needs to be done. And that goes to your point, Ron, that you've told me so many times. What's the purpose of a business?
Get things
What is
done.
the purpose of a business?
Mm-hmm.
What is the purpose of a business, Chris?
Well, the traditional mindset has been to create income and revenue for the shareholders and the people who are in it. But is there another way have another purpose for a business that can actually be in alignment, to where we can get still said revenue and also grow a community inside that organization? Can it be both?
I think businesses attempt to be both. I don't think businesses unilaterally put one before the other. I don't buy this notion that companies are inherently evil, or people do things inherently evil for someone else. I mean, I think people do the best they can with what they know. It doesn't make it applicable for everyone. But, I find it a hard time that a CEO of a corporation is looking to, harm their environment and or community that they work in. Like Coca-Cola isn't in business to make Atlanta a worse city. Like there might be things that they do that harm the environment or harm Atlanta, but it's not done for that reason. I think they're doing the best they can. Like they're trying to make a good product and a good service, and bring joy and happiness to those who still drink Coca-Cola.
So let me ask you this then, Brian. Just like to Carla's question, if you were building an organization, what would be the traits and characteristics that you would like to see in that organization that you're building?
I have no idea. I don't look for traits. I don't believe people have traits. I think it's a created construct of our own perception. The traits that we see in other people are either a couple of things. They're either what we have inside of us that we want to explore and, bring out in us and express, or they're things that we don't have access to from within ourselves that we project onto someone else has. Like, so there, I don't look for traits in anyone.
So for example, if I felt like Sandy was a great communicator,
yes,
and I saw that trait, are you saying that is something that I actually feel like I need to work on?
It could be.
It could be.
Okay.
I'm not saying it is, or it could be something
that I relate to because okay.
That you have it, you see that, and you express. It's something you express from within you. Yeah,
I can understand that.
Like, let's put it. I'll use a mundane example. Has everybody read a Harry Potter book? Has anyone ever seen Harry Potter or a movie?
I've seen some of it. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm the oddball. I haven't.
Okay. Like, is there a book that you have read that probably everyone else has read?
Yeah.
Something in general. What would be kind of I don't know.
I don't know. Go ahead. Okay. Go ahead. I'll follow you.
Let's put it this way. Let's assume everybody has read the same book. Chris might come away from that book loving it, and it really resonated with him. Sandy may have found some of it interesting, but not all of it. Tyson may have found none of it interesting. Melinda may have found it was really revolutionary and amazing. You may have had a completely different.
I may not have liked the title and never read it.
Exactly. and I might have a sixth one. The point is that we believe that the truth resides in the pages of the book. But in reality, the truth resides in us for reading it. We're creating the meaning about the book of how it resides. So I look at characteristics and traits in the same capacity. So, it's like the old age Supreme Court's version or description of pornography. They can't describe it, but they know what it is when they see it, right? So that's why when I struggle with this question, that, and I have other issues to struggle with it, but when I look for traits and concepts or qualities, I don't know. Like, yeah, Sandy might be a fabulous communicator, and it might be how she articulates words and how those words, the tonality, the language, the sentence structure, the body language, all of that, and how it lands on you, right? You might be a very detailed person, so she might speak in a very detailed way. Melinda might be very abstract and gets lost in not wanting to hear all of that. Her eyes might glaze over, right? So you have to understand that depending on how someone communicates is completely a precursor to how you interact with it, right? I mean,
how I perceive it.
Yeah, like so for example, I mean, you all, and Tyson's young for this, but if you remember back through history, you know, when you had the very first kind of televised presidential debate with Nixon and JFK.
Right.
And they did studies over it, and they said something like 70% of the people who listened to the debate on radio said that Nixon won. And they said something like 65 or 70% of the people who watched it on television said that Kennedy won. So part of it, and Sandy mentioned this, of, you know, what's not being said, right? The body language, the expressions, and so forth. So you can take the exact same sentence and have two completely different people say it. Let's just say, "Make America Great." And you know that Trump said it, but what if we projected and say Biden said that? You would have completely different reactions from different people based on who's saying it. It's the exact same thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we project different meaning from people because we have different versions of people. So, you know, we've assigned a quality to one and the quality to another. And it's just a creation.
Well, the other side of that, Brian, is if you are really an effective communicator, different people have different personality types. You know, they sort of function in different ways. And if you listen carefully and figure out who they are, then you need to adjust your communication style so that the message you send is going to be received by them. Because, you know, if you're dealing with a controller, you know, they want everything done yesterday and they don't want, you know, they just want to know what they need to know. If you're dealing with an analyzer, you know, they need to not leave a rock unturned. You know, they got to check out everything. If you're dealing with a supporter, they want to know very specifically what you want so that they know that if they do what you told them to do, that you're going to be happy, because that's what's very important to them, to make people happy. And they're very good listeners. And if you're a promoter type personality, they're very hard to focus on anything because their minds are going in a million different directions because they're full of ideas. And in order to benefit from them, you've got to stop them and suggest to them one idea that they came up with. This is the idea I like. Can you give me more information on that specific idea? And it's
100%.
Attention to who you're talking to, because otherwise you're not going to get your message across. So a really good communicator will figure those things out. And part of it goes back to the active listening. Listen to people, figure out who they are and what they want and how they think and how they observe things and so on and so forth, and then adjust your communication style appropriately, because then you'll have far more success and much less confusion and resentment and disappointment and so on and so forth when your message isn't received. And the other thing you have to do is you have to get feedback. Because otherwise you don't really know what the person heard, how they processed that information, and what conclusion they came to unless you get feedback. And don't ever ask someone if they understood you, because they're going to say yes. They don't want you to think that you weren't paying attention or that you're stupid. So they'll say yes. That's not the right question. The question is, before we part ways, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. What do you think I expect of you? That way you'll find out if they actually heard you and if you are going to be on the same page. And that way you'll have a far better chance of straightening it out before they leave you, so that in the end, we're all going to be happy because we're going to get what we want and everything's going to be good. Don't ask them if they understood you. I mean, that's a really bad question.
Yeah. I remember that with patients, because they would, you know, certain cultures, they'd be like, yeah, they understand. Or the Indians would go, that was their yes, you know. But you never ask them. You ask them to explain to you what they were told, because otherwise they're going to tell you yes, even if they don't. I lived in Italy, and if somebody had said to me, "Well, I capito," if I understood, I'd be nodding my head, going, "I missed 5 words in there, but I'm going to figure out what the hell's going on." I'm not going to tell them I don't know what's going on.
Exactly. Nobody's going to do that.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of how are we communicating with people? And if we're not being clear and we're not getting feedback to make sure that we are clear,
Mhm.
then we go back to making assumptions. And as you know, you take the word assume and it makes an ass out of you and me.
Right.
So assumptions don't help us. We have to get clear, concrete feedback from people, particularly if you're giving them instructions or directions for something. You need to find out what they heard, how they processed it, and what conclusion they've come to, so that we know that we're at least basically on the same page. Because otherwise, we're not going to get what we want and nobody's going to be happy. It's just not the way to deal with people. And, people are entitled to be who they are, and we need to accept them for who they are. But it doesn't mean that we can't deal with them appropriately, because every one of those personality types has advantages in terms of being on a team. They have certain skills and approaches to things that make them a good team player in terms of, you want an analyzer on your team. They won't leave any stones unturned. They will look into everything and you won't miss a darn thing if you've got an analyzer on your team. And if you've got a promoter on your team, they have wonderful ideas. So it's terrific. They'll come up with great stuff. And your controller, they run things. They're very organized. They get things done. That's how they are. And your supporter, they're great because whatever you tell them to do, they'll do it.
They're going to go do it. Yeah. I'm an analyzer. So Brian, I have a question for you, because I like what you're saying about how people don't have characteristics. It's just part of what they relate to. So let's say we wipe the board clean. We don't have a characteristic of anybody. Somebody comes in. How would you know that they would be good for a leadership role if you didn't have these other characteristics? Being authentic, compassionate, caring, a great communicator, a great listener, a hard worker, all those characteristics we talk about. How would you know that's a good leader?
If they got the job done of whatever they're being paid to do.
Okay.
So you would probably promote somebody, if I'm hearing you correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, you would possibly promote somebody from within because you know that they've proven to get the work done.
It depends on what you're hiring someone for in the leadership position. Like, I'll use university as an example. Like bringing in a dean for a university or a college. A lot of faculty felt that a new dean should come in to help direct the direction of the college through curriculum and what's going to be taught and so forth. Other people in the faculty believed that the person that was going to come in as a dean should be a fundraiser, an external facing person to go raise money for the college. Now, those two things are completely disseparate, because being a fundraiser isn't necessarily easy, nor is it always fun, and writing curriculum and creating curriculum is a far different skill set. But so to really answer your question, it depends on what you're bringing a leader in to do and what the objective is. Because leadership is very subjective. It's whatever is needed and wanted at that time. So like they ended up hiring a dean who had a track record in accreditation, because the university was going up for reaccreditation in the next couple of years. The college was going up for accreditation in the next year or so. And he had experience doing that at a previous university. The fundraising aspect of it becomes moot because either he's incapable of doing it or that wasn't part of his job description. And the curriculum aspect of it is there, but again, that's different. So it depends on what you're bringing someone in for.
Absolutely.
There isn't a general, hey, we're going to bring someone in to run it. Now, I guess like in a turnaround situation for a company is the same thing. Not every company is the same. Not every turnaround situation is the same. you know. So I don't know.
So you would maybe compare what you want them to do in this leadership role with their past experience, and not necessarily the nice qualities of a great communicator and all these other niceties.
Well, the past experience helps. It's at least it's a data point. It's something that you could refer to. That doesn't mean that just because they did it at a previous company means it's going to work here. I mean, there's numerous examples of CEOs who leave big Fortune 500 companies to go to another one, and it ends up not being appropriate for various reasons. But, you know, the warm, fuzzy, chummy, rah, 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 you know, hold your hand, pat you on the head and tell you that you've done a good job, I think it's a bit overstated. You know, but to Sandy's point, no, communication is critical. I mean, if I had to pick one for myself, I guess it would be someone who masters or has mastery over linguistics, who's a good orator, who can communicate verbally. So
it still has merit. It's just not the be all to end all.
Oh, I mean, of course it has merit. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. You know, if you look back through history, some of the greatest historical figures, and I don't mean greatest in terms of better or worse, I'm just saying greatest as in notoriety, you know, whether it be in, you know, Nazi Germany or fascism in Italy, through, you know, American presidents to, you know, others, you know, through apartheid and so forth. The one commonality that all these leaders have had is that they're all great orators at some form or fashion. They all have mastered or have a way to communicate through, you know, agreement, and they're very, very good at it. You know, you have to kind of wonder, looking through history, how is it that some people believe others and not everyone, right? I mean, you look at what's happened in the last year and a half, 2020 and 2021, and I was having this conversation actually with another person right before I got onto this, and, you know, was asking a question. It's kind of fascinating to contemplate that nearly 6 billion people in the planet, and just use that as an example, virtually every single one of the people believes that what they have been told by the media and government agencies and politicians in the last year and a half is true. And they very rarely have even questioned that what they're being told might not be the truth. I just find that fascinating.
Yes.
And my conclusion is not that they're not listening. My conclusion is that what they have been fed linguistically creates the scenario where they become programmed to believe that what they're being told is true.
It's true.
And I'm not saying it is or it isn't. I'm just saying that linguistically, how we process it, we don't end up questioning it. Chris?
Let me ask you this, Brian. Then from the art of mastery of language,
Yes.
Can we use that said language either as a positive or a negative?
Absolutely. A lot of it has been designed for the negative. I mean, there's language of influence, and it's manipulative. If you go back through and you read stuff on Dr. Milton Erickson, some of you might know who he is, might not know who he is.
I heard.
But he was a medical doctor in the mid-19th century, and he was a master at hypnotic conversation and spotting body language and watching people's breathing patterns and all different kinds of stuff that he could look peripherally across the room and know exactly when someone felt a certain way because they could see like a blood vessel pop on their leg. Like, he was amazing at it. And, you know, this comes out of hypnosis, Virginia Satir, Fritz Perls, Milton Erickson. Language is fascinating. But to answer your question, Chris, yes, it's for both. I prefer to use it for the positive.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Carla?
Ecologically speaking, it's more
What would be an example of using it for the negative?
We're all in this together.
Makes you want to go chin chin with a beer.
Well, so there's different ways of it, and this is where, and Sandy touched on this in terms of knowing who you're talking to and how you communicate. Some of the best communicators have the ability to speak at a very high level or at a very detailed level. And we've all had conversations with people, and you ask, for example, I asked Sandy how was her weekend, and Sandy says, it was good, right? You know that she's kind of an abstract person because that's it. But if Sandy went into the conversation and said, oh, it was great, I went here and I did this and we did this and this is what we did, you would know she'd be more detailed, so you'd have to talk at a different level, right? And you can manipulate people all around and to do stuff. But yeah, there's different ways of programming. In the media and in PR, it's called what's known as managed perception. People in marketing know about it. People in PR, politicians have been trained in it. A lot of speechwriters have been trained in it. 3-letter agencies have all been trained in it. Obama certainly was. It's fascinating stuff though. But once you start paying attention what the language is, you don't hear things the same way again. But it's fun. It's fun stuff.
You muted, Carla.
She's having a rant.
You muted, Carla.
I don't know how that happened. In terms of COVID, we're not all in it together because everybody has had different experiences. I know people that have been quite sick from COVID. I know people that have been vaccinated, and some of them do fine, and some of them have been dog sick afterwards, But we're not all at the same level.
Yeah, well, the question is, what is this? And what are we in? Right, you made a comment earlier where you said everyone wants X, Y, and Z from a leader, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, who's everyone?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and that's where the construct is coming from. Well, what does that mean? Who specifically? So when we communicate, as Sandy said, just because someone says, I can say, well, everyone thinks it's a hoax. Well, who's everyone? Well, now I have to go into and start to remember, who am I deleting? Who am I leaving out? What am I not talking? So, because we talk in these generalities, but it ends up, there's something behind it. Mm-hmm. It's trying to dig for the meaning behind the meaning, if you will.
Very interesting.
So Carla, this goes to a question I have in my head. When I have done what I've done here, bringing humanity together by having the coalition of people as I do with you, Sandy, Melinda, Brian, Graham, and many others, what would you say? How would you? How do I want to say this? How have you understood the way I'm approaching this, and what has resonated with you in the way what you're talking about today is how would you form a leadership team? How's that experience been for you? And I will pose that to everyone else in the room. How's that been for you?
I think back of when we met, and I heard about the mission and whatnot. It was kind of like I didn't say to myself that he's got X, Y, Z qualities and all these, made a list and okay, he fits a list, It was
I'm on a list.
you're on a list. No, it was a gut feeling. It's just like Brian was saying, I can't tell you who's a good leader. It depends on what we want to do and what they bring to the table.
Mhm.
And I don't necessarily see it as putting them in boxes. They're particular qualities that resonate with me of being honest and being respectful and being a good listener and trying to be a good communicator. And when I think back of all the leaders that I have had in the past, the ones that really I truly connected with, those were principles that I wanted to see in myself, that I picked up on, that made me a better person. That when I say, well, through X, Y, and Z jobs, I learned what kind of leader I don't want to be. Those were qualities that just rubbed me wrong or they didn't resonate with me. So I had almost an internal list of what qualities I wanted to have as a leader. And I wouldn't say that I'm there. I'm still working on them, but those are all, that self-assessment and personal development comes into play. It was a gut feeling that I had that I wanted to join this because I felt like I had the experience of being in negative work environments and I didn't like it. And I didn't feel like anybody should have to not feel like they wanted to go to work. They didn't feel inspired by going to work. When you spend so much time at work every day, you better like what you do, And when I have connected with so many nurses that are burnt out, and part of that is kind of their own doing because they don't work on their own health and wellness. They're giving and giving and giving all day long, and they're not taking care of themselves. But everybody wants to kind of give them ways to prevent that. But why don't we bring the nurses and the healthcare professionals and the hospitals administration together to make it a great place to go to work?
Right.
And teach everybody those skills. And so that was one of the things that made me want to kind of connect and go on this journey with you. And
Sandy,
on the journey, there's a lot of things that I haven't known that I've learned along the way. And in turn, that's made me a better person. And I'm still growing.
And I appreciate that so much. What has it been for you, Sandy?
Well, I think it was sort of the same thing, Chris, because it just kind of resonated. It's what I do, in terms of I went into healthcare initially to help people so that they could have a healthier mouth. And, if your mouth is healthier, it affects your overall physiology as well because your head is attached to your body. And now I'm just helping people in a different way. I'm helping them with the people skills that are essential to be successful in every aspect of your life. And to me, it's a bit more interesting now because it's much broader. And I think that people, particularly those who want to improve themselves, can certainly do it. It's just a matter of getting the support and some extra training or the opportunity to learn some new things. And I think that in our whole lives, we should always continue learning and growing. I think if you quit doing that, your brain's going to fall apart anyway. So, it's something that's very important for human beings. We need to always be learning and growing and interacting with other people. And we learn from others. We always learn from others. I learn from participants in my workshops. Things come up and, I've never heard this before. Wow, that's really interesting. Whatever. It's one of the ways that I have learned things. And I really enjoy what I do because I have met so many interesting people and I've learned about so many different industries because, as I said to you, Chris, a long time ago, that when I started this, people say, well, you have to know what your target market is. And I just looked at them and I said, well, name me an industry that doesn't have people. They kind of looked at me like,
right.
And I said, well, I solve people problems. So I don't have a target market. It doesn't matter what the industry is. They have people in their industry, they have issues, and we need to examine what those issues are so we can provide them with the training to overcome those issues so that they can be more successful and enjoy their work better. Because if they are more successful and can deal with things more effectively and have a more positive attitude about how to deal with these different challenges and obstacles that are put in front of you, then they'll do better and they'll have a happier life. Because it's people who are negative and never think they can solve anything. I mean, that's no way to go through life. It's really depressing and unhappy. And, nobody's life is a long, straight, smooth road. It just doesn't work that way. We always have bumps in the road and washouts and rock slides and, all kinds of things. We got to deal with it. It's just how it is. And if you give up, then, you give up. But if you step back and go, okay, well, there's a problem here. Let's see what we can do. And if you can't solve it yourself, get some help. There's nothing wrong with asking someone for help. And if we have a good team, particularly if you have a good team leader and you're comfortable going to them because they have helped you before and supported you and encouraged you, then go to them and say, you know what, there seems to be a problem here. I'm not really sure what to do. What would you suggest? And, we'll have a little discussion, see what we can come up with, and then move forward and fix it. I mean, a lot of times when people have the right attitude, then their life is just better. I personally have no patience for negativity and all that kind of stuff. It just, it drives me crazy. I don't see why people want to live their life like that. To me, it just doesn't make any sense. Life is way too short not to be having fun. And so many people don't know how to do that. It's really too bad. I think that, and that's why I try to make my sessions interesting and fun so that people come away and they're laughing and they're, because then it's going to be a far more retentive kind of learning experience because they enjoyed it. And that's what I try to do. And I've had a lot of people come up to me and say that, this was fun, or, thanks for bringing the prizes, or whatever, because I want them to enjoy their experience. And if they do, then it's a win-win for everybody. Because if they see what the advantage is to now starting to use some of the new approaches and strategies and techniques and so on that we've been discussing, because we've applied it to something that makes sense to them, then we have a far better chance that they'll actually start doing this. And when you make an investment in your people, they feel valued because the company has paid to give them some extra training to improve the skills they have or teach them new ones, which down the road can give them the opportunity for more responsibility. So again, they're growing, and maybe even down the road, they'll get an advancement, a promotion, because they have some other skills. But it's just a matter of it. And I like what you always say, Chris, if you help me and I help you, then we help we. And that's what a team is. There's no I in team. We work together. We collaboratively try to achieve the goals that we've set out for ourselves, or to complete different projects that we're working on together. And when you do things in that manner, in a collaborative way, and everybody's pulling together, it's fun. I mean, it's kind of cool. And when we're done, we step back and we go, wow, look what we did. This is really nice. So it's just a matter of how are you approaching things. And I think if you have a team leader or a manager or a boss or whatever who is positive and who is encouraging and supportive and respectful of everybody, then the culture of the organization is going to be positive. And, you lead by example, and people who walk the walk, not just talk the talk, that's not good enough. You got to walk the walk. And if you lead by example, you have a far better chance that the people that you're leading are going to follow in your footsteps, because you've made a commitment that this is something that we should do, and this is a way that we can do it so that everybody gets the best out of it. And again, if you have people on your team and you see potential in them, you want to help them to develop that potential so that they are going to improve their self-esteem and their confidence, which means they're going to do their job better. Everybody wins. It's just a matter of paying attention. And good leaders pay attention. They really do. And that's how they get the best out of their people, and why they keep their people for long periods of time, because the people feel appreciated They feel valued. And when they're given new challenges and new responsibilities, it keeps them engaged. You know, when you're a robot and every day is exactly the same, it's boring. And, you know, people don't like change to a certain degree. Okay, I understand that. But to learn new things, it's cool. I mean, it just really is. And then you're not bored because you learn something new. Oh, this is cool. I get to do something different. Wow. You know, so it's just a matter of how you look at things. And I agree with Brian. A lot of it is, it's our own perception of things. So if we have a perception that's negative and all this kind of stuff, well, you know, who wants to be around a person like that? They're depressing. It's not much fun. But if you have someone who's positive and upbeat and encouraging and supportive and respectful and compassionate and all those things that are helpful to people, then everybody wins. So it's just a matter of how do you deal with people?
Well, Sandy, I'm so thankful and honored that you're on this journey with me and everyone else here, and I greatly appreciate that. So, Melinda, I know you're new to the team and everything, but what has the experience been for you so far of what we're building here?
Well, it's been a very positive journey walking in here. I mean, I didn't know what to expect when I just came on the next day, and you know, but so far I'm really, really liking the journey because we all had a lot of the same ideas or philosophies that govern in the workforce and govern in general as humanity and people together, and what works and what doesn't work. And we know about certain things as you do training, et cetera, you know, and you know what's effective, what's not effective. But everybody has a different way of expressing themselves and talking about their passion. And I'm totally, I love your story. What's his name? Tyson. Yeah, your story about the warehouse and talking about the warehouse and the different jobs that you had and the things that you did. You just sound like the person that's, like they say, it's an old soul, but you're really young and you just hold it down no matter what it is they throw it at you, and you just produce. And that's it. Like you said, you have to deliver 1,600 deliveries from now.
No, from August to now.
Okay, from August till now, right. So, I mean, you just seem to be that kind of person that you take what you do with pride and you love what you do, you're passionate at it, and you're happy doing that. And so you have a smile and a glow about the way you do your things and participate with your friends at work.
Well, and the thing about it is I have a spot on my driver app where I can see what people say about me after I've dropped off their orders. Mm-hmm. And the one that's stuck with me for a while now is food was great. Well, no, food was terrible. Dasher was great. And I also had someone said, this guy needs a raise.
Oh, that is nice.
That's good.
That's why I have the mentality of I'm doing something right.
Yes, you are. You are doing something right.
I just go into it every day. I make friends with the people at the restaurants. I know because in this area where I'm at, there is about 200 to 500 restaurants that I pick up and deliver for. Mm-hmm. And it's also gotten to the fact I've had owners of restaurants who have seen my profile. Mm-hmm. And have approached me with job offers.
Nice.
To
that's wonderful.
To deliver for that restaurant exclusively. Mm-hmm. So
that's nice.
And the cool thing about that is when I can do that, and I can also get catering orders, which is bank.
Right, that's where the money's at, right? That's
exactly.
Wonderful.
Because I can take those big orders to the industry, to the warehouses out here, when they have like a big potluck for holidays and whatnot.
Right.
They pay quite a bit of money just to have those delivered.
Right.
They do.
Something to look into.
Well, it's great that your reputation has preceded you. That's great.
Well, I think you're a positive outgoing, friendly person.
Yes, he has. There's something about him, and they love it when they see him. And they
You got Tyson. You have maturity too that a lot of people your age don't have. They're just kind of off in la la land. You know?
Don't know where they
I don't
are.
feel like going to work today. I'm going to call in sick. You know, they just don't have the dedication that you have.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I've had those days too, where I'm like, you know what?
Well,
I
we
don't
all
want to work.
do, but you show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean that's. I'm not gonna lie. That's why I like That's why I like DoorDash, is because I have no set in stone schedule. I can work whenever I want. Like the last week after we moved in here, I have not worked. I've worked maybe a total of like 4 hours in the last 2 weeks that I've moved into this place, and that's only just to get some money for gas.
All right.
Because I can work for like 2 or 3 hours, and that's like $60-$70.
Yeah.
Right. So Tyson, we're so glad and thankful that you're a part of our community. But like I said, with everyone else, I want to know from you, what has really resonated with you about what we're all building here together? What has really been a thing for you and say, hey, I want to be a part of this great community that Chris is building?
Well, personally, I bring a different perspective into this, because I've said this before. I'm the youngest one here. I'll be 21 on the 26th of this month. So, I bring a different perspective of life compared to what everyone else in the call has seen. I'm still getting out there. I'm still learning all that, and I'm basically at the still at the beginning of my life. So if I can take and apply what I've heard and what we've discussed in these calls into my daily life, then I know I'm doing something right.
And that's the goal. And that is the goal, what we wanted to do here through Share and Care, Conversation for Humanity, and Humanity Happy Hour. It's like what Sandy says every time about impact to influence. Influence to impact. That's what it is. Influence to impact. And we want to do that because we want to do those things that's going to be the right thing, but not the easy thing. And I've always believed in that. So, Carla, what's the call to action?
Call to action is to look and see in yourself what qualities you found in other people that are going to make you a better person.
Yes. I love that.
Sounds good.
That is good. That really is. And again, everyone, I'm so thankful and honored that you're on this call. Again, Carla, you're doing amazing work with Humanity Happy Hour, because you're I think your new thing is now what, the 19th hole?
The 19th hole. Yeah, I forgot the Jimmy Buffett music. I wasn't even thinking about that.
Wait, hold on. I can get it up real fast.
Ah,
Oh, here we go. Margaritaville.
no, it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Oh, that is true. It is 5 o'clock somewhere. If Tyson can pull it off.
It's 5 o'clock out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean.
Hold on, let me get my speaker.
Oh, just put it in front of your computer.
Oh no, I'm actually on my phone because I don't have a computer with a webcam right now.
Speakerphone. Put on speakerphone.
My speaker doesn't work on my old phone.
Oh.
Oh, come on.
That's all right.
We'll do it next time.
Moving slow, so am I.
We'll have to do it better next time.
What music is that? Country?
Yeah. So Ryan is back. Tyson, can you Yep.
Sorry.
Thank you. Brian is back. So Brian, you've been on this journey with me for many months now. What has it meant to you of what we have built in discussions together and everything? And I want to hear your point of view on that.
First is, I don't know how I got here. Wherever here is. I don't know where here is, but I'm here.
Yeah, because we don't
It's the
see your
19th
picture.
hole.
You're the 19th hole.
Yeah. But to answer your question, what's it been like? I think it started pretty innocuously, really, Chris. Either I responded to one of your posts or you to one of mine, and we started chatting about humanity in the workplace and what that meant and the possibilities for it and so forth. And it's kind of grown into where it is now of a fairly robust conversation about business in general. There's obviously some aspects of some coaching stuff that we've talked about and some different perspectives and possibilities. And obviously you're looking to continue to build something here that could make a real difference for yourself and others. And it's just part of the ongoing conversation that we have.
And it's been a wealth of knowledge and truly of a learning experience for me. And I can tell you that from the bottom of my heart, Brian. And that goes for everyone. I've learned so much from each and every single one of you that I know truly we probably wouldn't be here if I haven't reached out to have those great and engaging conversations with each and every single one of you. I know that to the fullest. I do. But I just appreciate you guys so much. And Carla, Humanity Happy Hour is going to be played on the 19th hole every single time there's a 19th hole. I know it's going to be on every TV. I can see it because they will be bringing Humanity to TV. It's coming. So that's a great call to action. So everyone, thank you so much for being on this live stream again. If you could hang around just a couple of minutes, Sandy, Carla, and Brian, that would be great. And we'll see you for the next Humanity Happy Hour hosted by none other than Miss Carla.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Have a good day, everyone.